This is The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Roadmap, exclusively here on ASBN.com. I'm Lee Heisman, and every week we bring you some of the brightest entrepreneurs, CEOs, and business owners who are climbing the ladder, scaling their businesses, and thinking about one day how to exit stage left. Today, I have a very special guest and a good friend, Jeff Perkins, the Chief Marketing Officer of Greenlight Guru.
Lee, great to be with you.
Absolutely. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you.
My goodness. Well, I'll talk a little to the audience first and say, I've known this man since we were 15 years old, I think, in high school. And look at the small world that we're in. We run into each other in Atlanta. You have a vast history. Before I get into Greenlight Guru, I want to talk about your history here, Jeff, and how you've grown your career as a chief marketing officer and then eventually to a CEO, chief executive officer at one of the largest, I think the top 3 downloaded app in the world for navigation. It's something you and I'll talk about in a little bit. But talk a little bit about your career where you started at Tricentis. And I think Tricentis and your other firms had some exits that happened during that time.
We did. Very early in my career, I came up through advertising agencies. So I worked at big shops like Saatchi & Saatchi and Havas, these big global agencies. And then I went client side and I worked for big companies. I worked for Auto Trader and a company called PGI, which was a publicly traded company. And then I made this pivot into startups. And when you start thinking about exits, that's really where that came in. Because when you're at a big company, you're not really thinking about the exit. You're just thinking about how do we make our quarter? How do we make our year? How do we get our bonuses? Very different at a startup. So I came into this company, at the time it was called QA Symphony, and it was later named Tricentis. And we were about $1 million of annual recurring revenue when I started. And we grew that business from $1 million to $20 million, and then had a big event where we were able to raise $50 million from Insight Venture Partners, which was very exciting. Eventually they merged with another company, Tricentis, and I left shortly after that. But it was a really great lesson in how you build a business, scale a business, and become very attractive to potential investors, owners, and buyers, so you can maximize the value to the people that put the money in the business to start it up.
Yeah, and you were a key ingredient there. You were the chief marketing officer there as well.
Yep.
So that marketing piece becoming attractive. We were talking about that with previous guests as well, how when you try to sell a business or you try to maximize your enterprise value, it's not just about you running your business, it's about looking good as well. So other than you do look like $1 million today, so I'm glad you came out.
Thank you.
It's wonderful seeing you. But go into the next transition. When was it the right time for you to leave Tricentis and go to your next venture?
Whenever you're in a company, you have to look at yourself sort of like a stock, right? What's the key to a stock? You buy low and sell high. Or if you're a professional athlete, you want to leave your team for the next team when your value is as high as possible. And so, I had a great 3-year run at Tricentis, $1 million to $20 million, raised $50 million. And at that point, I was getting a lot of calls because people were looking at me and said, this is the marketing guy that really helped build this business that led to a really big Series C. We have a smaller or mid-sized company. We want that talent over in our place.
And that's funny you say smaller company at that time.
Right.
And that company's name for our guests?
Was Park Mobile.
Absolutely. And I mentioned it being, was it, the 3rd most downloaded app on the internet in the navigation space?
Yeah. It was in the navigation category of the App Store. There's Google Maps, and then there's Waze, and then there's Park Mobile. So it was the number 3 app. I don't think we were ever going to overtake Google Maps or Waze, but it was an app that we really, I joined. We had about 8 million users of the app, so it was a big app at that point. But over my 5 years there, we grew it from 8 million to 50 million users. So really, some impressive scale with the growth of that business. And it was a great ride. We were actually acquired twice during my time there.
Well, and go back to the acquisitions during your time, because if I'm incorrect, and it's not all that common, you were the chief marketing officer there.
Correct.
And then you got promoted to
eventually the CEO of that business.
Congratulations again. Still wonderful. So during that transition, were the acquisitions when you were just chief marketing officer? Did you see it from the seat of the chief marketing officer and from the seat of CEO?
It was interesting. Started as chief marketing officer, and that got us through the first acquisition. We were acquired by BMW, a big auto manufacturer. And then I took on additional responsibilities. And that was the thing with me when I was at Park Mobile. I always looked for opportunities to expand my portfolio. So our head of product left, so I took over product. Our head of technology left at one point, I took over technology in an interim period. So I always looked at ways where I could do more, add more value to the organization, because that would help me grow my career. And so after our second acquisition, we were acquired by a company called Easy Park Group. Our CEO decided to leave. And because I had such a big portfolio there, they said, well, Jeff could step in and lead this business going forward.
Do you just step into a CEO role? Is it that simple?
In this case, well, it's never simple being a CEO, but in this case, I knew all the players. I'd hired a lot of the people in the company. I was very comfortable within the organization and leading the organization. So it was really a pretty seamless transition into the CEO's seat. Oftentimes, though, it's not that easy. Usually when companies are hiring a new CEO, it's more of a turnaround. Because if you need a CEO in the seat, usually things aren't going great. There's a new one that's needed. So, but this was a case where the business was going very well, and they promoted me from inside the company because they thought I'd be someone that could continue to lead it going forward.
And you did. Yes. And you did. Yeah. But then we go to the next transition, yes, which is amazing. This is your roadmap.
Right.
Show, the roadmap with Lee Heisman, but about Jeff Perkins,
right,
which is perfect. The next trail in your road was it was time for you to leave and explain why, mm-hmm, and then going to Greenlight Guru.
Yeah. Well, one important thing to know is when your company gets acquired, things are not going to stay the same. Things will change. And I had put 5 years of sweat equity into building the Park Mobile business. Like I said, I hired a lot of the team. I loved the company. I loved the people. It was very emotional for me in a lot of ways. And we were acquired by a bigger company, and I ran the business for a bit. And then the bigger company decided there were some changes they wanted to make. They wanted to take a lot of the people out of the US business. It was a European business, and matrix them into Europe. They wanted to reduce a lot of the costs of the US business. And this is what happens when you get acquired. A lot of times people think, oh, I'm going to get acquired and we're going to keep running the business exactly like we did before we were acquired. That's not how it works. They're not acquiring necessarily the people in the company. They're acquiring probably your revenue, your customer base, maybe your technology. And so they don't want your overhead. And that was kind of a hard lesson to learn. And what I was being asked to do was sort of blow up something that I had worked 5 years to build.
Yeah, makes sense.
And you come to this crossroads in your career where you have to ask yourself, am I willing to do that? Do I want to oversee this brutal process of trying to rewire this business? And I just decided, for me, I have had a great run here. I love the company, but it's probably the right time for me to step away.
So then you transitioned to Greenlight Guru. Talk about Greenlight.
Yeah. After I left Park Mobile, I had intended to take some time off to, maybe do some consulting, kind of recharge. And this business, Greenlight Guru, approached me right away and said, hey, we're a fast-growing company. We're a vertical SaaS play, so we're in the medical device field. So it's very different than Park Mobile, but we sell software to medical device companies. And we really think we need a top-tier marketer to help us get to where we want to be and scale this business. And so I like the team. I really like the CEO there. It seemed like a really big opportunity to grow a business. And so I jumped in about a year ago, and it's been a really fun run during that time.
So in addition to all of this roadmap, you also broke off on a small trail and you wrote a book. And I love the title of it, How Not to Suck at Marketing. Very simple, correct? Right. It isn't even how to be good. You took the negative, let's get rid of the negatives, how not to suck at marketing. Yeah. Talk about this. This is your first book?
My first book. I had written a blog for many years, and it was all about things I had learned as a marketer, mistakes I had made as a marketer. And I said, these are a lot of blog posts, these are a lot of thoughts. I think I could convert this into a book. And I found an editor who liked some of my blog samples, and we worked together on it. But the idea of the book is that marketing is very hard. It changes constantly. I mean, I started in my career doing television advertising, and I haven't done a television ad in years. It's all digital now, right? And so what I realize is that the job of a marketer is very hard. It changes frequently. You have to really constantly reinvent yourself to be good as a marketing leader. And I was seeing a lot of my friends go into marketing jobs and they get fired after 24 months. And so I said, I need to create sort of a survival's guide for the modern marketer.
Oh, I like that.
And so that's the idea of the book. It's how to kind of do your job, do it well, not get fired, and hopefully help build businesses along the way.
So again, give me a quick summary if I ask you a direct question, because I'm sure you covered this in the book. Give me one of the biggest mistakes someone in marketing, or if you own your own company and you're kind of doing your own marketing, or you have a department you're overseeing, give me the biggest mistake that you can find in what someone can do in the marketing department.
I think oftentimes it comes down to focus. Marketers generally are we're shiny object people. We see all these like things out there. We want to do everything. Someone said to me once, Jeff, I know you can do anything, or I know you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And that really stuck with me. It's so important for marketers or for anyone running a business to focus. And where I've seen marketers fail, and where marketers often fall into traps, is they come into an organization and they see a lot of opportunity, and they say, oh, the brand is a mess, and the website is broken, and our email program is non-existent, and they try to do everything at once. And those are all really big initiatives. Like changing the brand is a huge thing. Changing the website, changing all your marketing automation, plumbing is really hard. And so probably one of the takeaways that resonates most with people is that you have to develop a quick win strategy. So when you're in an organization, it's not all about hitting home runs constantly, especially when you're new to an organization. It's all about small ball, right? Put those runs on the board, show that you're competent in your job, build trust with your executive team and the organization. So when you want to take on those bigger projects, they're going to have confidence that you're going to be able to deliver. And that's probably the biggest piece of advice I have for marketers. Like, start small and work your way up to the bigger projects. And if you do it that way, I think your probability of getting fired will probably come down a bit.
I love the fact, probability of getting fired, avoid negative consequences. And for our viewers out there, I have to make a statement to you. Jeff's words are not just good for marketers. I think they're good for everybody. And it is playing small ball. It's taking one step at a time. I've always said in my entrepreneurial career, and I say to clients all the time, make your view a little more myopic. You don't have to look 2 years down the road. Let's just get through day by day, build the confidence, like you said, build your cachet and credibility within your firm or your current client base. And then on occasion, swing for the home run. On occasion, swing for the grand slam.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing when you focus on something, your ability to complete that task. Whereas if you're focused on too many things, you're not going to get anything done. And so that's really the main thing for marketers, or just for entrepreneurs. It's all about where you invest your time, where you invest your energy.
Yep. Most entrepreneurs are spread too thin. They're putting too many things on their plate, and you're exactly right. That's the epic failure recipe.
Yep.
Jeff, unbelievable. The content, our 15 minutes flies like this. You're probably one of the most well-spoken guests I've ever had before on other shows of mine. Thank you so much for coming on. I think it's that Cherry Hill, New Jersey education.
Yeah, it's all about New Jersey.
Well, we're both from there, so it's wonderful. I don't know how I missed out on it, but I somehow still made it through. How would people get in touch with you, whether it be Greenlight Guru or you yourself, get your book? Talk to our audience about that.
Probably the best place to contact me is through LinkedIn. If you're interested in the book, it's available on Amazon, or you can go to hownottosuckatmarketing.com.
That wasn't taken, that was available?
That was available, yeah. So hownottosuckatmarketing.com, you could get a copy there.
Wonderful. Jeff, I have my copy from you personally signed already. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I learned a lot. I always do. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this was as insightful for you as it was for me. We hope to see you again next week on another episode of The Roadmap.
Thanks for watching The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.